I'm standing here with Caps after their convincing win. Hey, how are you feeling about it?
It was a bit rough in the beginning, at least for me. They had like the Sejuani ult, which was a bit annoying, but since we knew we had the scaling, we were really comfortable. We knew as long as we just waited for our power spike, then we could just force, and we did. So.
Can you talk me through your composition, because you picked Kassadin, and that's a champion we don't see a lot at the moment. What was the idea behind it?
So we had the Kassadin along with the Taric and the Ornn, and all the 3 picks allowed us to go really heavily into the backline. And if anyone dies, then it makes it really easy for the Tristana to just clean up or like just roll over the whole comp, since they have a really defensive comp. Yeah.
Well, it seems to have been very effective indeed. I want to talk about the interview you had last week, on LOL Esports about your ranking of mid laners. Now, you're saying that you're the best mid laner by far, even better than Perkz. How so?
I mean, I just think that me and Perkz are both better than everyone else. I don't think I'm better than Perkz by far. Okay. I just think I'm better than Perkz, and then us two are like by far better than everyone else. And it's mostly judging from like last year. Yeah. Since we haven't seen that much of the new mid laners this year, it's hard to judge them. But maybe time will tell if they're able to stand up.
Okay, well, it's working well for you guys, and you seem to stand above the rest. Thank you very much, Caps, for your time, and congratulations for this game.
Thank you.
And now we're going to send it back to our analyst at the desk.
Thank you very much, Laura. Always good to hear from Caps.
Perkz, the best mid laner alongside Perkz.
Caps above the rest.
Oof.
But even above them, the Stallion.
The Stallion.
Can't forget the Stallion. Of course, though, we have to award a player of the game for the previous matchup, and it is going to be Soaz, coming in 57% of the votes. Turns out if you take TP and Ignite, people will vote for you.
Who would win in a fight? A little mini boomerang man that can turn into a giant monster, or a dude with a hammer and a Bernie stick? Who would have thought that it would be the Bernie stick?
I would
just laugh at the joke and keep going. Perfect.
So funny. All right,
funny.
Let's look ahead towards our next game between G2 Esports and Unicorns of Love. Now, G2 had a lot of struggles in the first weeks. They lost those 3 games in a row. Well, now they've won 3 games in a row. So I want to talk to you guys about what has changed for this G2 lineup. What is coming together?
For me, it feels like that Jankos and Perkz seem to be finding their form together as a unit. They seem to be utilizing the fact that they're picking winning lanes. Wonder and Perkz are consistently pushing up in the middle lane, and then Jankos is taking advantage of that to net these early advantages for the team. I like the fact that G2 are being much more proactive in the early game, and it's enabling Perkz to come into the mid game looking strong.
And for me, since I play with Jankos, I know we will see a lot more from him. He's still just getting there. He's taking these stair steps higher and higher, but it is not the same Jankos we saw in the H2K, the first Wolf King, you know? And he will get there.
But guys, I mean, I do want to talk about what Caps was saying earlier. Who is actually the best mid laner in Europe right now? Is it Perkz? Because look at this game, man. It was Perkz versus Nukeduck. Perkz came out on top. He's taking on everybody just about toe-to-toe. Is this guy #1 right now?
Right now, there is no best. We just got a lot of mid laners fighting for that top spot, and it isn't until playoffs for me that I can truly say who sits atop the throne, because Perkz has had incredible performances. We've seen some great stuff from multiple members, and you've also got to look at some of their opposition in players like Exile, who really has been stepping up over the last few weeks as well.
And before we talk about Exile and the Unicorns of Love, I want one last thing to hear from you, Freeze. Are G2 back? Are they the kings of Europe once again, coming in on a win streak, looking good? Is it enough for you to have full confidence in them?
Honestly, if you're G2 and your only win condition is Perkz, you are not back. You're trying to find yourself still. And then I thought Yarden is stepping up big time, but then he just didn't deliver again, and Perkz had to be the one that had to finish the game for him.
That was the case, but now we can look across them. Unicorns of Love put up a big fight against Fnatic yesterday. One player that kind of showed a whole new side of himself is White Knight in the top lane. Just took down the player of the game, as you can see here in this clip, so clearly he's got something going.
This guy was pretty hyped after some of the performances that he had in the Challenger series. He was hitting Reddit every single week. He was having all these great outplays, and this is the first semblance of what we were able to see from the top laner. He picked up the Gnar, he was able to get a great outplay, and overall in this game, he had a pretty solid performance with the lineup of Unicorns of Love.
Well, he used to be on the radar 4 years ago in Challenger, where he was constantly getting high elo, high ranks, and everyone thought he is the best 0-0, or like the next 0-0, the best top laner of EU. And then he chose to finish his studies before going to play professionally. He completely stopped playing, and then now he's coming back. Now he finished his studies, and then now he can prove again that he belongs to the top.
That's a tough decision. You got to respect it. But now he's going to have to prove so much today. He's going up against Wonder on the side of G2. Wonder putting up some crazy numbers across those GP performances. How do we feel this matchup is going to go?
Oh, I think that it's going to very heavily depend on the stylistic differences between the two. We have seen White Knight prefer to go for more of those lane-dominant carries, whereas you look at the side of Wonder, he's been willing to play that tanky role. He's been willing to pick things like the Gangplank that fall behind in lane, and he's much more focused on setting his team up for success. And while sometimes that doesn't always translate into the team fights, as G2 is still finding their form, we saw semblance of it last week, where we saw much better team fighting, and yesterday from G2 and the whole squad.
And now one thing on the other side for Unicorns of Love that we have heard is improving. Seems to be the bottom lane. Freeze, you had a lot to say after their game yesterday about how they're kind of stepping it up a little bit, at least in terms of Totoro.
Yeah, I got surprised by Totoro engages. They were super aggressive. They were super on point. He had several baits where he baited Fnatic into engaging on top of him, and then just closing on them, engaging on them. And that's how they actually were ahead versus Fnatic, and they could have closed the game out if they were more patient.
Yeah, I was really impressed with his performance. They picked up the Rakan, they needed to find early leads, and they did it off the back of his fantastic performances. So I want to keep seeing more from him. I thought his brand was fun to watch, wasn't quite the best of performances, but now moving into this week, that kind of confidence and that kind of play is definitely going to serve Unicorns a lot of favors going up against G2.
I want to see if they do it. I want to see if they can get the upset, if they can take them down. Well, the stage is set for our final fight in week 4, so let's give it over to Quickshot and Deficio as we hit the rift.
Oh, thank you very much, guys. Jankos is having a ton of fun with his desktop cam. By the way, he just beat Perks in a 1v1 Lee Sin match. It's what they do to warm up. We'll be jumping to Pixel Band shortly, Deficio. Let's quickly run down the rosters, starting with G2 on the blue side, with, of course, Wonder in the top lane. Jankos in the jungle. Perks wearing his awesome hat.
Oh, I thought his head was way further down for a moment. I was like, what's happening?
Jordan and Wadid, of course, the AD carry and support.
I also want to highlight that Perks yesterday lost a 1v1 Lee Sin game against Wadid, his support. So apparently Perks is losing to everyone when it comes to 1v1s.
They do Lee Sin warm-ups for mechanical practice, apparently.
And clearly Perks is not on point.
No, of course not. But, you know, he's a mid laner. Mechanics aren't that important. Their opponents today are the Unicorns of Love. Let's quickly run down their roster, of course. Starting up with the top lane, the man that Vedius just spoke about is White Knight. Cold in the jungle, Exile in the mid lane, Samix and Totoro, AD carry and support. And Sheepy standing behind them. Sheepy always gives Deficio a death stare to begin picks and bans, and it's to intimidate him, I can tell.
Every single time, for at least 5 seconds, he will look straight at me.
Yes.
And he requires some sort of reaction from me.
He's
and I never know what to do.
He's looking for your soul, but is yet to find it, I'm afraid.
It's gone. It's gone a long time ago.
Deficio, in picks and bans in the previous game, you very correctly looked towards the Giants' trends.
Dankeschön.
What trend are we going to look at for either of these teams today?
This is a little bit harder because Unicorns of Love yesterday wanted to run this double AD carry comp with the Corki in the mid lane, and then they packed a lot of engage around it, and they were looking for mid game, like bam, Trinity force Corki, force team fights to try and win. Sadly for them, Fnatic had a pure team fight comp that just like killed the AD carries very easily, so it got a little bit too far into the game. Fnatic kind of ran over them towards the end, and they couldn't win, but they had a good start to that game. G2 favored late game. Actually played fairly slow most of the time. Schalke game yesterday was an hour long, but it was, to be fair,
exciting.
An hour of a lot of exciting gameplay. So with G2, I know they can play towards early game, but in this meta, and because it's still early on in the split for them, they have favored the more late game kind of comps.
Okay.
And I think that's still going to be the direction for them.
I mean, it suits the patch, right? We're still on 8.2, ladies and gentlemen. Galio, Rakan, as well as Gnar, taken off the table by G2 Esports. Unicorns of Love have responded with Rise, as well as Tahm Kench.
And I think the one thing Sheepy does see when he looks at me is that I hate Tahm Kench. So he bans it for me every time. And I really
Deficio,
like that.
that's collusion. You're not meant to say that on broadcast.
I'm not saying anything. He's looking at me. He's reading my body language, which is no Tahm Kench.
And what is your body language saying first pick-wise now? Azir is up, Perks has played.
They did this
Zoe
yesterday.
as well, Gangplank instead locked in.
Yeah, they did this yesterday here. I like how you saved me because there's a lot of first pick choices, so I could say something wrong. By you just continuing to talk. I never get to make a prediction before the pick is locked in. And I can be like, Gangplank.
You continue then. Where would you like to take us?
Well, I think Vladimir would be a good choice. Wow, just got locked in. That's crazy. Sejuani is also available for Cold if he wants to play the tank. Alistar was what we saw yesterday. Kalista is still here. No one wants to play Kalista in Europe for some reason. Even though Kalista Alistar is amazing. You can just do it, but she keeps losing whenever she gets picked.
Yeah, definitely not great. 0% win rate leading up to this week.
This is the game where Samux will grab Kalista and win a game.
Jankos sends his regards and may
His
not
coach is telling him to play Sejuani. He's saying, no, please, I want to carry. Whoa. That's different. Not a carry.
Oh, it is locked in.
Azir. I like it. All right, well, play around perks. Normally works pretty well if you are G2 Esports. Great way to do it is pick Nuno Azir. Funny enough, most junglers don't want to play Nuno. They don't actually consider him that strong. He's by no means broken, so he's left open in most pick and ban phases. But this one, he's grabbed very early just to play the Nuno Azir comp.
And what is the response from the Unicorns of Love? How do they play into this? Of course, we've seen the Vigar into Azir multiple times before, and Exile's going to run it this time around.
So remember, early game, you do not beat the Azir with this pick.
No.
Late game,
yes.
The giant stun from the Veigar is very effective, as I was burping while actually saying that. Very effective against Azir, who wants to stand still and like auto attack, and you can try and like zone him off. And of course, you have the one-shot potential later on. Nuno Azir, however, if they do not get destroyed instantly by this engage comp of Alistar diving in, ult from Veigar, of course, a Vladimir who will reach the backline, if they survive that, they will have way more consistent DPS. But you gotta survive the initial engage.
So the shotgun approach from Unicorns of Love, will they find the kills? If I recall correctly, it was Betsy that played that Vigar really well a couple weeks ago. This will be the first time that Exile has run that pick.
Ooh, this Taric ban is so smart because they're playing against, a composition that wants long team fights, a lot of hits, kiting around. Taric ult is great at stopping the initial all-in from a comp like the one we see from Unicorn, so that's a really smart ban. Could have been a great choice though for G2.
And the Kalista, a really smart ban as well, denying that Kalista Alistar. It's going to be Tristana instead, as Varus was the last ban from G2 Esports. And if this Ezreal gets picked in, Deficio, Ezreal is 0-4 on the week and 2-7 on the split in Europe.
Everyone wants to be the hero that gets the first win on patch 8.2 after the Ezreal and Klepto nerfs happened. Yanan wants to be that guy. It's a kite comp. There's so much kiting on G2's side. It is a lot of the late game, as we talked about coming into this draft. That's the kind of the style they want to play. Unicorns are a lot for trying to do a bit of what Fnatic did to them yesterday. They want more engaged. They want tools to like one-shot a target just when the fight starts. That's more engaged once again. And Ornn, while his ulti is great as long-range engage, it's hard to use Ornn effectively as a pure disengage support because your main CC when it comes to like people running at you is going to be either if they're next to a wall and you can charge into them, which won't happen very often. The other one is, of course, your long-range ult, but that is a slow one. So when these guys are jumping in instantly and trying to kill one guy within a second or two, Ornn can't always peel against that.
The shotgun shell approach for Unicorns. Will they find their targets? I'm trying to look to see where our social media guy is because I think we have to ask a question. Will Hyonin and G2 pick up the first win for Ezreal in Europe on 8.2? 0-4 after those nerfs to Deficio. It's the last game of the week here for us in Europe. And we have Nuno Azir, the comp that was going to take over the stage last week. Going to be rounding out this week.
Was only picked once.
Yep.
The Nuno Azir, and it lost.
It wasn't particularly exciting, but this man on your screen is exciting. Jankos will make Willump do wonders.
And when we saw Perks and Jankos together, we knew synergy was going to be important. Playing around each other is going to be important. Kind of hoped it was, Lee Sin and LeBlanc. It is now Nuno and Azir, so it's a little bit more late game focused, but still counts. I still think on Unicorn's side, enough engage, plus a great game from Exile, they can beat G2.
All right, let's see what the Unicorns can do. Deadly serious on the side of the Power Pink Ponies. 1 win and 6 losses here in the spring split. It has been a tumultuous start.
And that's normally not a sentence you hear put together right there. Deadly serious Pink Power Ponies.
But that's what you find in the Unicorns of Love. They are being juxtaposed by excitement and energy. The G2 Esports roster is definitely hyped for this game. We're loading up, ladies and gentlemen, here for G2 taking on the Unicorns of Love. The final game of the week before we head to the post-game lobby and then set ourselves up for a handover to the North American LCS.
Classic dematerializer on the Veigar here. You know in the early game it can be a little bit rough in terms of pushing. You can't really match what Perks can do on the Azir, so you have to just kind of accept that you will push back in the lane, and dematerializer can definitely help you keep it up. Yankus.
Oh, no.
So annoying already.
It's so frustrating. He hasn't laughed yet, though. If Jankos laughs on this Nunu skin, I hope the observers catch it. Much like Cowbell Alistair, which Tocho's failed to select. And, you know, I can't forgive him for that. But we need to hear that ha when Jankos decides to do it.
All right, for now, it's Wonder dancing in the top lane instead. Meanwhile, on Unicorn's side, the Vladimir pick worked well against him yesterday when it came to reaching the backline, kill the AD carries, Exile, and Sandmax in that game. So White Knight grabs it for himself this time and says, you know what, my job is now to reach Yanin and Perks.
Okay.
It can be a little bit difficult to do because, of course, very slippery champions, both the Azir and the Ezreal, very long range as well. Ezreal will go for Iceborne Gauntlet, so if you don't get to pool under that one, suddenly you get slowed down. But if they land the initial engage first from Zac or Alistar, follow up with stun from Exile, you're keeping people in place for multiple seconds, and then White Knight is going to get in.
But I mean, I guess that requires, you know, vision, timing, communication. They're going to read the setup well. The man on your screen, Cold, he was one of the guys you're going to look at. He had an interesting tower dive yesterday, didn't go well. He's now going up against Jankos on the Nunu. When we look down some of the statistics, kill participation at 15, 100% for Jankos, the First Blood King. Holds true to his title.
Worth mentioning that G2 do not get a lot of early kills.
Doesn't matter, still counts.
It still counts. It makes it a little bit easier to have 100% kill participation as a jungler. I believe he's currently on Dragon at level 3. Took the blast con over. We have push in the bottom lane. That's one of the great things about this Ornn-Ezreal combination is it can very often push in the early game. Ezreal is still fairly strong as an early laner despite the nerfs that happened to his Q where he lost some early damage on it. So with them pushing bot, and as we talked about twice already, Azir pushing in Veigar, it actually allows Jankos to go for this very early Drake.
Start to hold my breath ever so slightly. Gonna need a little bit of help, and then it works out. You can see the mechanics on display of a truly top-tier LCS jungler.
Great thing about Nuno is no skill shots.
Exactly. That's why it's perfect for Jankos.
You cannot mess up. That's not true.
No.
You can mess up Blood Boil. That's the only one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a record for you. It is truly worthy of the Quick Stat title. That was the earliest dragon of the 2018 European LCS, and it was a Cloud Drake. Those two sentences will never be pieced together again, because nobody goes for Cloud Drake that early.
I like the combo from them. Oh, let's see what happens down here. Wadid.
What happens now? Wadid's in a lot of trouble. He gets dunked. I'm so excited by Quick Stats, and First Blood is what's going to happen. One more shot. What's going to happen? Samax! What the hell was that?
I think the minions blocked him, so he suddenly started turning around, and he didn't get the last hit. Samax normally would probably just flash for the kill there, but I think he might have gotten too far away because he was stuck in a minion wave.
That would suck so badly.
Maybe if we can get a replay of that, we can see if he could have picked up that first blood.
But hold that thought. Tocho decides to fancy a shot. Yanin's in a little bit of trouble, forced to flash away.
All right.
That means every summoner spell blown on the side of G2.
So early push from the Ornn and Ezreal, but they just got punished. Both of them lost both summoners. All started with Wadid got too close to that Alistar, who could then headbutt him back into the turret. Didn't even have to use flash or anything. Exile in the mid lane does get a trade on Perks. Cold is here.
Charging up the slingshot. Oh, look at that! Fancy footwork from Perks. Prediction or anticipated. Sidesteps a stretching strike. Even manages to send a comet back to the face of Exile. Doesn't use a single summoner.
I like the move here from Perks, knowing that if he just dodges around the Nuggup, he's gonna be fine.
And then he walks into the Fate Horizon. I think he was playing a little bit of bait there.
So, still, the way G2 drafted with, you know, pushing mid, pushing bot, and a Nunu makes a ton of sense for the early Drake. They will try and go for another one when the second one spawns, and it's going to be a Mountain Knight. So, sucks for them, it's a Cloud first, not like an Ocean Drake, but let's see. So, Wadid walks in, gets knocked up, knocked back into the turret, takes one tower shot, and now Samax gets easy trade. Let's see what happens. He follows, and then No, actually, he could just probably have followed up and flashed and hit him, but maybe just got out of range at the very end.
Oh, so disappointing. We'll see whether or not Unicorns can turn that one around. I mean, look, early advantage here to G2. And of course, once today's show wraps up, European LCS postgame lobby will kick off. And we'll be discussing whether or not G2 or UOL picked up the win. It's a cull, by the way, for Hyanin. Perks is able to walk out of the event horizon. Tier cull, Hyanin, in for the long game here. Happy to scale, happy to buy some time.
Also kind of missing gold to buy anything useful after the tier.
Yeah.
It's already purchased from his side. Cole is always fine. Definitely doesn't hurt him that much in terms of laning phase. Exile keeps playing very aggressive. They're kind of swapping positions here. Perks is suddenly on the other side, and same for Exile. Luckily, Exile does have his jungler just outside of the screen. Now Cold enters, and that's why he can play so aggressive towards the bottom side. And second game in a row where Cold is spending all his time in the early game around Exile. Get this man through the laning phase, and then he can start doing some work.
I mean, that was also Exile last year. His laning phase was weak, but his team fights were good. And we'll see whether or not Exile can set themselves up. Jankos gets pulled towards the Raptor camp. Those chickens eaten alive by Exile and Cold.
And we probably have Gathering Storm on Exile. And now he's in on the other side.
Yeah, there's the cleanse, as well as the command arise and attack. Continues to go forward. Now Exile's
on
got some support. Wadid comes in with a volcanic rupture, and Bellows Breath forces Exile to flash away. Ignite was used. Exile's run for his life. Now Perks is in trouble. Down below 100 HP. Ignite is ticking. Perks stays alive a few seconds longer, but there's the passive pop. Cold in trouble. First blood available and picked up by Jankos. Now all of a sudden Totaro's in trouble. He's going to get the stun. Well, Samux has arrived. Teleport being channeled, and Exile returns to the fight, but G2 get the kill.
All right, first blood for G2. Perks was very low in that fight, but he just got under the turret. Wadid trying to hold the wave for now. Exile will just kind of hit him a little bit.
Yeah.
Forcing away. Exile's ulti was there, so
that would have hurt.
Could have tried to do something. Let's see the play again. So Exile and Cold coming from behind. Perks does get stunned, has to use early cleanse, but now because Cold jumps in, not expecting the cleanse to come down from Perks, he ends up missing the first knock-up. And then Exile is low on HP, low on mana, so he can't really stay and fight. And it is technically at this point a 2v3. Of course, Perks having to flash away and walk away, but Cold got smaller and smaller, and sadly in the end ran out of HP and ended up dropping down. I think the initial plan of going for the play onto Perks was fine, but then when Perks can cleanse the stun and Cold still flies in where he was positioned before, and is then forced to flash the wall to make a play happen, Unicorns ended up going a little bit too deep.
And they get punished for it. It ends up being pretty sizable, in fact. Nearly 2,000 gold. If you look at advantages in pretty much every single role for G2 Esports. Wonder, of course, farming up that bonus gold thanks to Gangplank. And Kleptomancy doing so well in lane. And G2 continue the trend of very good early games. Look, over the last few weeks, plus 1,000 gold in 15 minutes. They've had a lead in 6 out of 7 games, despite losing 3 of those.
Yeah, I mean, mainly G2 has been losing games in the late game. Not recently. They've actually gotten a lot better at closing out games and also winning late game fights. This comp, again, we already talked about a ton of scaling.
It scales so well.
So it's like early pushing lanes from mid and bot lane, and then a lot of scaling. So they have some early game in their favor because of the pushing power, and then suddenly they have the late game team fight. But on the other side with Unicorns, we talked about this already, it's the dive the back line. Chain the CC from Zac, Alistar engage into stun from Veigar. Let White Knight be a carry in the back line. There's a lot of members here who can reach Perks or Hyanin, or at least try to do it. So Unicorns, when they group as 5, which is going to be the name of the game for them, 100%, they can very easily catch G2.
Well, let's see how well they execute it. Before we get there, Deficio, I have a question for you. Jankos is level 6, so Absolute Zero unlocked. He's currently put 3 points into his consume. Where does he go from there? What do you think of skill orders on Nunu? Because I've heard some differing opinions.
Well, I see a lot of Nunus just fully max out consume and then max W after. Do have to see if there's a fight starting. And then just max W second. Don't actually max the E at all, simply because the extra little bit of damage and slow it gives you is not worth it compared to what Blood Boil, when you do put some ranks into it, will give you, of course, more stats for your mid laner, and more importantly, the minimum amount of AP you actually will give them with the 40% increase, it goes up when you put more ranks to it. It's 40 at rank 1, so that's not a lot in the late game. See what happens bot lane. Tolor is very aggressive.
He is indeed. Support was there though. Cold and Exile coming down. And I'll keep a close eye on Jankos.
Well, he should max
points
Q.
put
Just max Q
anywhere else.
first and then max W, because you need the Q for objectives and farming and all that.
Well, there we go. Gonna find Exile. Can start to channel Absolute Zero if he wants to. No, gets the Summoner Flash. We'll be happy with that. Teleport's being used by Wadid into the mid lane.
Oh, can he ult? There's no flash on Exile.
Call of the Forge God is available, but the Unicorns can flank and surround G2 Esports. The Herald is summoned now. Kissed with perks. There's the Forge God. Not going to find a knock-up just yet. Will, in fact, on the return, as the Rift Herald gets a chunk of the tower, but G2, they'll walk away with their lives.
If it wasn't for the backup around mid here, then Wadid for sure would have instantly ulted onto Exile and picked up a kill. But of course, Cold and White Knight, they expected it. They were waiting around. I think Cold mainly tried to interrupt the channel on the Rift Herald right there, not really looking for a kill, seeing as, you know, there were multiple G2 members already there and Exile was so low. Good trade, top from White Knight as well. One of the guys we're really looking at on the side of Unicorns of Love, because he had a good game yesterday.
Yes.
We've seen him, you know, starting to shine a little bit more in the top lane, and this Unicorns of Love team, they do need someone who can win laning phase.
Yeah.
It's not White Knight in this game specifically, but it's been one of the problems for them. They don't really have a single lane that just kind of always does really well early on. Let's see what happens in the play. Gang onto Exile, of course, Nuno ganks, mainly just slow a guy down.
Yes.
Damage is not really there to do much else. And now, I think Wadid is like, okay, I can get a kill. But then they realize, okay, there are multiple members around, and Cold does fly in. Sad the frame comes in a little bit too late. We'll just get a bit of damage on perks, and that's still fine. Gets a cleanse. And he ends up then walking away, and Exile stays alive.
Walks away and no further kills. Fisher, you talked about sort of winning lane. And despite things starting well for Samix down in that bottom lane, Hyonin is farming up well, 28 CS away from that Cole. And I do have another piece of information for you. Do you remember I asked the social team and Twitter whether or not you think Ezreal will pick up a win? 52% of you do not think Ezreal will work for Hyonin.
Haters.
They are
Twitter.
then predicting UOL to win, despite being down 2k. But that is maybe just the weight of Ezreal on this patch.
Does it count if G2 wins, but Hyonin plays awful?
Well, yeah, because it's a team game.
Sure, yeah, but then did
I mean, that's literally what the backpack is for.
Did the Ezreal work then?
Well, we'll have to ask social to ask the internet.
That's another question.
Let's see what happens, because Hyonin is in trouble. Whether or not 52% of you will be right, he's the target. Hyonin goes golden thanks to the use of that stopwatch. Buys a few seconds longer. Exile chunks him down with a primordial burst. Absolute Zero is channeled from Exile on the back end, and Exile is the target. Buys a couple extra targets, and Perks is the man that gets the kill. So they trade 1 for 1. Despite a couple of summoners.
So we've seen this a few times now from Unicorns. They're trying to make a play in the bot lane with the Alistar. Obviously want to get a kill into the first third of the game, but it was a very long dive. The stopwatches, again, they make this difficult because they buy so much time for defending team. Notice how Hyonin, when the initial engage happens, uses stopwatch, again, buys more time. Jankos can join, Perks can run from mid, TP can get channeled, and Exile, he's not getting out. Save your own stopwatch. There's no way out, like, there's legit zero way out. Just save it.
Don't use it later when it might be more useful. Question, what do you think of UOL's execution of that dive? Because it's the first taste of how their comp wants to work together and combo the abilities.
I think they hoped to get a knock-up on the Ezreal into a perma-stun, so he couldn't use stopwatch and you could burst him down quickly. Because then this dive could have worked much better for them, and you suddenly didn't have to wait for stopwatch to run out, and Jankos wouldn't be there as early, Perks couldn't roam and actually be there in time to pick up a kill or at least a return kill on the way out, because Unicorns, even if they got the first kill, gotta make sure that they can actually get out again and not just suddenly get ganked from the side. So I think the play in itself makes a lot of sense, but the stopwatches make it so hard to execute it, and of course also a TP coming down.
All right, Perks has been able to walk out a lot of those event horizons, forced to use the Emperor's Divide to buy some time, and as we approach 15 minutes on the clock, despite running at Perks over and over, Perks is up 30 CS. G2 are up nearly 3,000 gold, and not a tower has fallen. G2 are just farming very well, and they're using all their gold-gaining abilities to their advantage.
But Exile again tries to force Perks out of lane so he gets some damage on the turret. So far it is down to 50% HP, and now with the stopwatch gone from Hyonin, Unicorns Love can try that play in bot lane again, and this time instant kill the Ezreal. is definitely an option for them. There is TP on Exile's side. He's looking for another trade. He's currently 1v2.
All right, Absolute Zero has been used by Jankos. Here comes Cold in from the back end. Let's Bounce available. Let's Kiss. Perks and Jankos. Delivers Jankos closer to Exile, but he's got not a lot left to work with. Sand Soldiers are arisen.
Oh, that TP's going to get interrupted.
Sent forward. It was, in fact, interrupted. Let's see how Totoro escapes with his life. Wadid chases forward, connects into the wall. Don't get many opportunities like that. Wadid continues to run forward. The Forge God is available. Whoa! The Buster shot! Aldo saves his life. Totoro, the Blasco not going to be enough to buy time. Now Cold and Exile coming from the back. Perks is blown up, burst down primordially. Kiana needs to get over the wall. Got Summoner Flash available. He's looking for another re-engage, and this fight was messy.
Yeah, but that was a 2-for-1 in favor of the Unicorns of Love. It all started in the mid lane. Exile, he went nuts, 1v2. He knew Cold was coming, but he took so much damage, he ended up having to back away, and then suddenly in the bottom lane, a fight breaks out. Well played by Samex and Totoro here, and actually knocking Wadid back, so he suddenly couldn't find a way out, and then they got a kill on him, and managed to then wait for the rest of the team to show up and get another kill, this time on to Perks. So this Veigar pick in the mid lane, while he's definitely not winning on CS, he's constantly fighting Perks. And he knows the Nuno pick is not that scary. He doesn't have to fear the ganks in the mid lane. So he's feeling confident. Okay, interrupt, of course, or cancel on TP instantly. And now it looks like everything is in favor of G2. Early trade on the Alistar. Jankos comes down first, but look at this one here. Once Wadid gets knocked back and then shot back as well. He can't get out. And the stopwatch this time buys time in favor of the Unicorns of Love, and Exile gets to show up.
Fisher so close to being a Cody Sun, but not quite. Totoro's taken out. Good team fight. It also means tower first blood for the Unicorns of Love, so that's going to close that gold deficit ever so slightly. Unfortunately for them, it is at the cost of a Mountain Drake. So that's going to help out. I mean, Nunu, Gangplank, Azir, Ezreal, Mountain Drake. This is terrifying around Baron.
Baron dies in like 2 seconds, basically. Maybe a little bit more, but it will die very quickly. That's the point of the 2 seconds here. Exile and Totoro.
That was an optimistic Forge Guard.
It was. There was no flash on the Veigar.
Yeah.
So maybe if it connected, they could have done something. I want to see Exile look for more fights. Disrespect Jankos as much as you want. Walk straight into Perks and just take the trades, because at the moment, he's doing pretty fine.
He is indeed. Pretty good for Exile, 2-1-0. Deficio, can we play the minigame of how many stacks does Veigar have, thanks to his Baleful Strike? While you're looking at that, Jankos has maxed his W, so going the expected route. And
yeah, currently gained 138 extra AP, and we're only 18 minutes in.
If Exile can use it, 138 bonus AP. Perks forced to use his ultimate. That's going to be all he needs to survive.
And now to get that bot lane tower, but look at this here. Wadid is TPing in behind them. We get another fight. I love it.
The Forge God's not available. True Shot Barrage flies across the UOL backline, gets some damage down. Jankos continues to bait and taunt the Unicorns, but it's a tower trade, bottom for middle.
And G2 can go for another turret right now, because Unicorns of Love will have to recall, at least get some damage on it. Buff up, there's Zia. Look at the damage from Perks right now. Smack, 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 smack. This tower's going down quickly.
Tower will fall. It's a 2-for-1 trade. G2 Esports come out with the macro play, but where is the teleport going? Saw that one being channeled. White Knight actually cancelled it. I'm assuming that's what the observers are trying to show us there. Decided against it. So G2, 3,000 gold up as we get close to 20 minutes on the clock. 2 item spikes continuing to grow, and Unicorns, they're losing some control.
They are, definitely, but they need one fight in their favor like this one.
All right, that's going to be a pretty easy kill here onto Wadid. It's bounces, use that's one, that's another double kill for Exile. And look at G2 scattered.
Oh, and this is why we love Alistar, because you can make some sick plays. You can set up carry so well. That was a great flash knock-up. Yes, Trevor.
That's exactly what
standing and
you wanted to see. Deficio, you wanted to see the shotgun comp, the perma-stun into the insta-kills.
Exactly. That's why they drafted this comp. It's all about comboing together multiple types of CC into burst damage. That's what they're looking for. I remember talking to Sheepy a year ago about drafting. He always said combo things. That's what matters to him. So stun into a knock-up, into another knock-up. Great setup between Cold and Totoro here, and Exile picks up a double kill. And Trevor, you just said Unicorns of Love, they're struggling, you know. it's kind of falling apart right now. And I just said, like, Trevor, calm down. They need one fight in their favor. And what happened?
They got the fight.
They got the fight in their favor.
Is it enough or do they need more? Because they're still 3,000 gold down.
They need more, but they're gonna get more.
Okay,
It's
okay.
impossible for this draft to not get more team fights. It's impossible.
I'm going to quote you on that. It's impossible.
I am
not
fine saying
to
that.
get more team fights. Whether they'll be good or bad is irrelevant. That was not part of your statement. So we'll see how well Cold and Totoro can combo. Because let's give Cold some credit. His Zac stretching strikes have been good. He's been around where most of the action has been.
He's been active, for
We
sure.
can criticize some of the jumps. Those slingshots have not always found their targets. But the follow-up immediately after has. And Cold is one of the guys that I had a lot of expectation on looking at this Unicorn squad because he is the leader, he is the voice, he is one of the most experienced. And we'll see what he can do with his team. Unicorns take another tower there to Fisher in the top lane.
And I want to see what a good friend down the bot lane is going to do, this Alistar, because he's not decided to upgrade after his Targon sprays. He's just sitting on what he gets from the like one upgrade and then sit on the 500 quest bonus with the early Sidestone with 3 stacks. It does allow you again to save roughly 1,000 gold, Trevor.
Okay.
And just rush a real item.
Like what? What real item would you expect Totoro to go for?
See, I would love Righteous Glory coming in from him just to have even more engage on his side. And I want to see if that is what he's aiming for at the moment.
I mean, it looks like it. Getting close to it. Around 2,500-ish gold for that Righteous Glory. Totoro currently sitting on 600 with Ruby Crystal, Sapphire Crystal, and that Bracer. So getting close. I'm not going to try to do math on stream because I always mess it up. And while we're talking about itemization, Unicorns, with the tower lead, they've closed that gold gap. They've got some very deep vision into G2's jungle. And it looks like they're trying to at least control the Baron side.
And Exile, once again, happy taking 1v2. Does not care about Nuno whatsoever. Just wants to try and hit Perks in the face every time. Cold, always around mid lane as well in this game. This time around, they did not get Perks at first, then he stepped back into it, so I guess it counts, technically.
I also think it's my fault because I said his stretching strikes were good, and that one was dodged or missed, depending on your point of view.
You're never gonna hit if you don't try, Trevor.
That's it. You miss every shot you don't take.
That is very true. And if you're really bad, you also miss every shot you take.
So play Ezreal, then you have a lot of shots to take. And
you can still miss all of them.
Some of them will hit. We'll still see whether or not 52% of you will be correct.
So far, the Ezreal's been fine
Okay.
in this game. But playing late game teamfights as Ezreal is not the same as the big hyper carries. Of course, there's a lot about it in these long fights. Kiteback, Azir, Nuno, Ezreal. It just screams, guys, give us 30 seconds of team fighting where we keep just hitting you from long range, step back, we kill your tank first. In this case, it's gonna be Cold, most likely. And then after we kill that tank, we can re-engage and take down the carries. And Unicorns, as we've highlighted, is the shotgun. It's instant burst. So two opposite kind of teamfight comps, which is really interesting to watch in this game here.
It makes it so fun because it comes down to execution, vision, timing, when you decide to engage and how you decide to engage. Because, of course, the Unicorns, they found that great fight in the mid lane.
All right, so he did upgrade the Targons for now, but he's still going Righteous Glory.
Okay.
So I'm still happy. I would have loved to see him instantly rushed, but it's fine. I get it, get the extra tankiness.
I mean, it feels like we're going late again. It kind of feels like this is scaling. G2 still have a bottom outer tower to take. They're still farming up. Despite the 2k gold lead, it's becoming less and less important.
As always, once we start getting towards the later stages of the game, but it's going to be a while before we get there. We've actually had fairly fast games, most of them today in the UOLCS.
As is the trend. Saturday games seem to be quicker than Friday games. Let's see what Cold and Exile can do. Perks throws down the Emperor's Divide, absolute zero. Gonna zone away all of the Unicorns. Event Horizon is decent by some time, but the Sand Soldiers don't care. White Knight comes in from behind. Forced a Protobelt out the True Shot Barrage. Flies across nothing. Down Cold is re-engaged. Perks is running for his life. This is a long team fight. The Event Horizon fights nobody, but the Primordial Burst does. Finally, someone goes down, and it's Perks.
Well, G2 did survive the first engage here, but then because White Knight was sitting against 4 G2 members, he just made sure they could never regroup, and Perks came in from the side, tried to do something, and got interrupted by the Zac. He hit this little slingshot, knocked up Perks. He suddenly was caught out. Oh, they want some more.
All right, Wonder can eat an orange and heal BK. Hyanin sidesteps the stretching strike as Wonder's forced to split away. Totoro gets the interrupt and Hyanin goes down. Samux gets the kill.
And once again, Unicorns of Love, they have so much engaged with this draft, they will always find the team fight. G2 tried to regroup. Perks stuck his head forward. Thought he could beat a carry from the side. Look at this here. Okay, so G2 not grouped up yet. Gangplank not here. Ezreal not here either. So we get the first engage. It's on to Perks, of course. They can't lock him down, so this is what G2 wants. They disengage, and now they can deal some damage. But look at White Knight. 1v4 right there to the left. Make sure that they can't regroup, and Perks then wants to do something from the side, gets interrupted, and now Unicorns of Love can just chase towards him with all the mobility, all the CC, and then they will eventually kill him. That was actually at first a fine setup for G2 because they survived the engage, they could deal some damage, but because of White Knights, little play down there, and Perks getting interrupted, suddenly Unicorns could stick to a target.
And such kudos to Totoro as well. He knocked Wadid out of Call of the Forge God, teleports in to set up another kill, and Deficio, with that 5th kill for Exile, he has now got more kills in a single game than all of the previous weeks this year. Cold spent all of his early game time ganking for Exile, trying to get him through that laning phase, working with him. And Exile at 5-1-0 with 230 bonus AP. It's now a terrifying threat.
G2 saw the Zac move in towards the river.
It'll be dead by the time they get there.
They're pinging him, but they can't get it.
What?
Cast the curse.
Holy moly! Somebody gift that! True Shot Barrage steals Baron.
Unbelievable!
Hold on, all of you Ezreal haters, that's for you. That is for every Ezreal hater.
The smite from Cold will deal 720 damage. They can even time it with the W from Exile. Okay.
If this doesn't go slow-mo, then I'm going to be very disappointed.
Let's see. Fires it. HP.
Yes!
738.
Holy moly!
Wow. That was so huge. That was a great play.
We're completely flabbergasted. Martin and I have been speaking for years, and that single play has stunned us. We just cannot get over the True Shot Barrage. And it was set up so beautifully. 52% of you hated on Ezreal. Hated on him. We set it up, we saw that coming. Nobody saw that coming. But what a great play. So G2 Esports, 4,000 gold in the lead. Baron on multiple players. And the Unicorns of Love need to use this shotgun shell attack.
Oh man, Cold didn't even get to use his smite. He saw the Baron. So again, Cold's smite would deal 720 true damage. He saw it at 738, and then something hit it, plus the ult from Ezreal, and it died. So technically,
Cold was fine.
Technically, you time it and say burst now plus smite, and you get it most of the time. But he was actually waiting for to go around 700 HP before he used smite. So he didn't get to use it at all because it got hit by something plus Ezreal ult, and then it went over to G2.
Right.
In a matter of a tiny second.
If there's one consolidation or one thing that is good here for the Unicorns of Love, they've got tons of initiation. And one of the best ways to deal with the split push or a 1-3-1 type comp or anybody using Baron, initiate on a group of them, right?
Yeah.
How and where will Unicorns need to pull back this goal deficit and try to claw back this game?
Well, let's see if G2 are committing to any of the inhib turrets. For now, they're looking towards the last tower in the top lane. We have Unicorns around to defend. They do TP in behind Trevor. They want to fight. Hyanin is not there. He's in the mid lane.
Where is Hyanin? How long will he take? That's a double TP into the red buff. This looks like it's going to fizzle. There's nobody to jump on.
All right, double TP gone right now. Perks and Jankos just stepped away from the top lane. Wonder did also cancel his teleport right there. Okay. We're slowing down again.
Reset. We felt the tension build, but nothing happened.
Yeah, and it bought some time for Unicorns. This Baron buff, 30 seconds left. It's going to run out. This game is far from over, man. We're going to get 5 million team fights.
I hope so. Your statement was true. 253 bonus ability power for Exile on his Vigar. Him and the rest of the Unicorn squad have going to fend off at least most of this Baron buff.
Oh, careful.
Further has been taken. The Sun Disc has been summoned on the mid-outer tower, and the inner turret bottom is the target.
All right, so they try bot lane now instead of top lane. Again, no TPs this time around for Unicorns of Love. Much harder for them to do any sort of engage, unless Cold can connect something here. Totoro is on the side. Look at him right there, the Alistar. Jankos is zoning him away.
All right, the Eventer Rise is buying some time. Here's the Forge God. Going to get knocked backwards, looking for the initiation. Totoro headbutts Jankos away. The tower is the focus and will get taken down. Totoro's being hammered. Unbreakable will just to keep his life alive. Now with the Baron timed out, G2 continue to siege. They've got 3 ranged minions down on the front line. The tower's going to be taken out. Unicorns cannot defend. They cannot fire the shotgun because they are not in range.
Well, G2 did get an inhib turret, but will then step away. All of Unicorns of Love still alive. They just got poked down and had to go back. No inhib gone just yet in this game. 31 minutes into it. It was Unicorns of Love setting up for Baron. They won the previous team fight, and then that insane steal happened from Yanan on the Ezreal. And suddenly G2 gets a bit more gold. 6k gold ahead at the moment. Let's see in terms of items. 4 items on the AD carry. Is almost matched by Samax on his side, but he's still actually sitting on 1300 gold, so he's almost there to match what's happening. Mid lane as well, 3.5 on Exile. 3.5 on Perks. So this gold lead, a lot of it's probably going to be in the gangplank, as always. Yeah, right now, Wonder is 4,000 gold ahead.
Insane. That is insane.
So 4k of this lead for G2 is on just the top laner. That means Perks is not necessarily a lot stronger than Exile.
Yeah.
And the carries are almost evenly matched as well.
And I mean, at the end of the day, Unicorns, their sort of team composition is about finding that single target, about chunking it down, and then you can continue the team fight. Perks is going to use those Sand Soldiers to move forward. Wadid's Forge God bounce backwards. No flash for Exile. Cold decides to jump in. Where's White Knight trying to come in? They've already killed Wadid. White Knight and taken down Yanin. Unicorn might have done it. Totoro's zoning away Perks. Jankos running for his life through the river, and somehow Wonder's nowhere to be seen. Perks gets the first of the fight for G2, and Samax takes him down. Rocket Jump is available for the reset, but he doesn't chase.
I love shotgun comms. Whenever they get onto someone, they just burst them down. Wadid died first, then all the engage came in from Unicorns of Love, and they got onto Yanin, they got onto Perks. White Knight on this Vladimir in these fights. He's not afraid. Ghost, Flash, Protobelt. He's getting into that backline every single time. And this Ezreal died so fast he didn't even get to use a summoner spell.
We're going to talk about him a lot this game, but here's a replay of the fight. Wadid just got chunked down.
Cold flies in. Look at White Knight here on this Vladimir. He just looks straight at the animated carry, and there's no one who can peel for him. Nuno's slow won't do anything against a flash pool Vladimir. So he will get to Ezreal. And now they also do take down Perks. Unicorns of Love, despite being down in gold, we just talked about it. For the main carries, that doesn't matter because they're even in terms of gold in this game. It's mainly just this GP who's of course getting very close to full items. But the Vladimir, he can still kill the enemy AD carry without full items.
Absolutely insane. Deficia, as you see the timer go past 33:23. Give you a piece of information. That's the average game time for EU LCS matches on Saturdays. Let's see how long this plays out, because Totoro's the target of G2 Esports. Continues to run for his life. Flash is available, and that Unbreakable Will gets burned through it. The Absolute Zero slows down Unicorns of Blood. No flash for Exile. He's shut down, chunked down as Jankos jumps forward. Now White Knight's trying to be the hero. The Hemo Play brings him back up to life, but there's not enough just yet. Samax needs to be a hero here. Samax needs to pull a Marinette out the hat, but he will not be able to do it.
What a turnaround here. G2 suddenly winning the fight. Exile's flash is almost ready, but wasn't there for the actual team fight. Plus the Alistar got caught out early. Baron is alive. We know with the Nuno Azir comp, you kill this Baron so quickly. Cold, no smite on his side. Samax, full HP, yes. But he's the only damage dealer here. It's hard for him to do anything, and this Baron, it drops.
Oh, so quickly. 5,000 HP. Samax, will he attempt to steal? The answer's no. Instantly burst down. Second Baron of the game goes to G2 Esports, and Unicorns of Love may get themselves Solitary Mountain in reply.
Let's see what happens here. Unicorns of Love are not in position to fight, but they stayed in mid. Exile and White Knight, they're not here. Instant kill onto the support. And now, without flashes to get out of this Nuno ult and GP ult, Exile will get tagged and slowed down, so he dies. Oh, Unicorns of Love had such a great fight in their favor before this one, and then overstay their welcome in the mid lane when they were waiting for the top laner, waiting for Exile to join them. and they get punished by G2 Esports, and now second Baron in their favor. This bot lane inhib, it's open from before. I think the Mounted Drake went over to Unicorns. Cole took it down.
It did indeed.
While we had the little replay. Let's see if G2 can get at least the last outer turret, and then once again, the way out for Unicorns is fighting.
Yes.
It's just fight back all the time.
Fortunately for Unicorns, fighting in those narrow choke points kind of helps them out. If G2 step a little too far forward, White Knight throws down the Ghost to try to escape, needs to use their Sanguine Pool and does so. That means he's now out of the fight. That's the the inner top turret.
Yeah.
Will be the next focus.
And of course, as we talked about much earlier in the game, Jankos maxing that Blood Boil second,
Yep.
so applies it to perks, means that he can give all the way up to 120 extra AP, plus, of course, attack speed adding on. We might get another fight here, but good disengage.
Oh, so good from G2. They survive the shotgun shell, but at what cost? It's a fight on two fronts. Wonder takes down Exile. There's a follow-up from Perks. Totoro, Samux are down as well. The Unicorns are routed, picked up, run down, killed, and G2 are destroying the Unicorns of Love.
That should be game now. They have so much damage on these turrets. They managed to disengage. Unicorns of Love suddenly couldn't do anything, and every single member just dropped dead except for White Knight. He's trying 1v5.
Oh, it's not going to be enough. Gets shut down and killed. The first Ezreal win of the weekend goes to Hyun, and G2 Esports steal a Baron, steal the hopes of the Unicorns of Love. And G2 Esports, they take down the Unicorns.
Very fun game, a lot of action, two different kind of comps. One comp looking for the engage and to burst, another comp looking for the disengage, and then the consistent DPS. We got to see both comps work multiple times. Engage happened, someone died, Unicorns of Love won the fight. Nobody died, and suddenly G2 got to kite back.
Yep.
They got to kill the first guy in the front line, and they got to win the fight. The Baron steal, though, from Yana was huge, because suddenly it wasn't Unicorns of Love pushing for turrets. It was actually G2 getting a bit more gold. And then after that, of course, they won a big fight in the mid lane where two members of the Unicorns of Love were missing. They were running from base and bot lane, and Unicorns managed to get caught. And this kind of describes their season so far, because they're doing a lot of things correct. There's a lot of things we're saying, wow, these guys, for a team at the bottom, look pretty good.
Yes, there's flashes. Those flashes of brilliance.
You have these one or two big mistakes. Either it's an individual mistake or it's a team mistake, but they happen almost every game, Trevor. And then they get punished.
Cold almost got punished trying to hug Wonder on stage.
Wonder, he's been working out. This man is getting quite some guns.
He is indeed, and he's using them in game. Jankos, not a happy smile. But Fischer was trying to talk about something in game.
You can't be happy.
G2 Esports managed to win this game in 36 minutes and around 50 seconds, right? The average game time of EU LCS Saturday games is around 34 minutes. The average game time of EU LCS games on Friday is around 46 minutes. Who knows why they take slower to close on Friday?
The EU players really want to, end the week, go to the bar, have some fun.
And to clarify, that is the week 4 stats as well.
So it's only week 4.
Only for week 4.
See,
I'm pretty sure.
Every Saturday.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be close, but I'll check with the LoL Esports stats team a little bit later.
Well,
Fischer, this makes next week very exciting because now we've got these teams at the top of the table starting to pull away from the middle of the table.
yeah.
G2 will be playing a Vitality next week. And
True.
if G2 are able to pick up a win there, it's going to close that top of the table gap between a couple of squads. Fnatic are up there, Giants are up there, G2 getting close. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Misfits losing 2 games this week here, so they're obviously dropping a bit down in the standings. Splice went 1-1, so they're not catching the top team at the moment.
But they can also climb a little bit away from the H2Ks and the UOLs of the bottom of the table.
They're pretty far down and pretty far away at the moment, at least. Sadly for Unicorns of Love, ended up losing the crucial fights in this game and therefore couldn't get the win.
They couldn't. We do have one more question for you over on LOL Esports, the Twitter. It is for the player of the game, of course. We'll announce the winner on the EU LCS post-game lobby, but you need to tell us who you think deserves it. Is it Wonder, Jankos, or Perks? Now, I would have voted for Hyanin, but he's not on the selection. The analyst desk will actually be picking that up. And fortunately for us, the first Ezreal win of the weekend is getting ready on stage with Law along
There
with
we
Wadid.
go.
We're going to talk to him, going to talk about Ezreal and maybe ask a few more questions. I know Law actually wanted to know more about that.
Well, go ahead then.
Well, why don't you toss it then, Deficio?
Should I toss it?
You should.
Well, guys, for more on G2's win, let's send it over to Law here, who's sitting down with their bot lane.
Thank you very much, Deficio. Indeed, I'm here with the bot lane of G2 after their win against Unicorns of Love. I'm sorry, guys, how are you feeling today about the game? Where did you can go? Because you were mentioning you were kind of sad about it. How come?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty disappointed from our performance right now, like, especially me, because, like, my performance on stage, like, especially this week, it even is worse. So, like, I'm pretty disappointed right now, so I really want to just rewatch my game and then fix the problems right now.
Yeah, but still, you guys end up the week with a 2-0. I mean, it's rather good compared to the start you had. Yarnan, how are you feeling about the team? Do you feel like you're getting stronger every week?
I'm not sure. I mean, this week was pretty disappointing for us. I think both these two games this week we could have lost. And it's pretty much me and Wadid needs to step up a bit, I think. And we've been playing pretty bad on stage, and poorly this week especially. So we just need to step up for next week, and then I think we will have a lot of easier games.
Yeah, and still you have a week to prepare for that. I want to ask you both a question because you both came from Rocket last year. How is it different concerning training, organization in G2? What did?
Especially, like, G2 was, like, king of the Europe for 2 years. Like, and it's, like, really great organization. Like, our CEO is like, Carlos, how can you, like, not like this organization, you know? And then, yeah, I mean, from our scrims, like, we are not performing like 100% like Scream. Like, we're performing really bad on stage. So I don't know what's the problem right now, but I really want to, like, fix it right now. I'm really, like, motivated to fix it.
Do you feel like, in a way, you might feel some pressure concerning, well, the fact that G2 was very successful over the last few years? Do you have to continue the legacy in a way, Yarnan?
I mean, that's the goal, obviously, for us as a team to win to win the split and do good at Worlds and everything. So I don't think we feel the pressure of it. It's just, like, more disappointing that we're not improving in the speed we want to improve, basically.
Okay, and we're going to focus more about the game now because next week we will be on 8.3. The patch will change. Hopefully we will see new things in the game. What are you expecting to see, Wadid?
I don't know. It feels like every day is like pre-season because there's a lot of changes during the season, so it's kind of confusing. But this is kind of the life of the League of Legends pro player, so we have to adapt it and then just looking for best picks. And then it's like BO1, so we have to find out it, like, anyways. So I don't know. I didn't read even 8.3, so yeah.
Okay, is it confusing for you to go to BO1 this year? I mean, last year was best of 3. Is it changing anything for you, Yarnan?
It's a bit different, yeah, because best of 3 you have to prepare a bit more, I feel like. I have to prepare for both sides, both red and blue. Okay. And now we only have to prepare for one side, so it's a bit like... If you play bad, for example, like I think me and Vadim played bad the first game, then you have always a chance to, like, show that you actually can play better the next game or the further game, you know? So I missed that a bit, but yeah, I mean it's fun with best ones as well, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, and you'll have time to learn with this new system, but it's all for us on this side of the stage. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me today. And for the moment, we're gonna send it to Dracos and his guests for the EU LCS post-game lobby.
Welcome to the post-game lobby. I'm here joined by Dracos, Freeze and Videos, and today we'll be talking about today's matches.
You did so good! Take me back. No, you have to leave. I just still need to beat the host.
Good job.
All right, you wanted to try it, but I guess let's just start. Perks, it was a lot closer than I think a lot of people expected, so why don't you talk to me about how you felt about that game? We heard Yarnan and Wadid kind of down. How are you feeling personally?
I mean, I'm not down nor happy. I'm just like a little bit disappointed with our play on stage. Like, the only reason why we won this game is because our GP and Ezreal stole the Nashor. And yeah, that is actually the only reason we won this game. So yeah, it's quite disappointing. performance from us, but win is a win, and it's the best of one. So like you have to take the win and like be grateful for the win. But like I'm nowhere close to being satisfied. So.
It's tough. I mean, it feels like you guys are still finding these wins, but it seems like you guys are always hungry, always moving forward, looking for more. Freeze, Vedius, how did you feel about this from G2? Did you see a lot of the same weaknesses that Perks is talking about now? Were you impressed with the play?
I mean, I feel like one of the strategies the Unicorns of Love have been trying out for the last, this week specifically, is invest more resources into the middle lane. And I don't know if Perks felt it, but to me, it felt like Cold was ganking mid a lot. And we saw a lot of action happening around the middle lane often. And when Vigar was picking at 1 kill, 2 kill, you think, okay, this isn't too bad. But when he's sitting at 4 kills and you're just slightly out of position, that guy becomes a massive threat that becomes very difficult to deal with. So for me, it's nice that Unicorns of Love are picking up a strategy that at the very least seems to be putting a lot of pressure on some of our top teams.
And Freeze,
but then
Vigar
again,
pick.
you know, some of the Veigar plays, they were good, but then Exile just finds his ways how to step forward too much and gets caught. Then G2 was just getting him off, picking him off, and getting these kills and prolonging the game. And then, you know, like with the comp they had, if they get to late game, they will win.
Yeah, it's interesting to me with the Vigar pick coming in. You guys put Nunu and Azir together. It feels like there's a lot of carry priority on you with those two picks, especially with Yarnan playing the Ezreal. Were you expecting the Vigar to be picked as an answer to this? And were you worried about like the late game in that theoretical world where he can, you know, one-shot you at some point in the game?
I mean, usually what people play against Azir is like Ryze or Zoe or Veigar. So I was expecting one of those three, but I don't really think the Veigar is such a big counterpick to Azir. I think it's mostly us playing as a team. I don't even think like he did anything in this game. It was mostly just Zac and Alistar, and we played worse than them, and they were playing a little better than us throughout the whole game until Nash point. So yeah, I wasn't scared of Veigar pick myself, no.
All right, that's interesting because I mean it had been a kind of a problem a little bit before, but it's good to hear that it's not something you're concerned about. Of course, we are going to award a player of the game. It is going to go to Jankos on the Nunu bot.
Seriously?
Yeah. I'm not supposed to say that.
GP was smurfing so hard.
Yeah, Ezreal stole the Baron.
All right,
too.
wait. I just saw a Wonder clip, but I bet it is Jankos. I've been told it's Jankos. You can see that we're divided as a production.
It's a fan vote.
That is so rigged.
It is the fan vote. That is the thing, and it was 36%. So that to me says it was clearly a close vote between the players.
And it apparently 1% over Perks too. Apparently Wonder was not in contention. So
why don't people vote for? Why don't you vote for Wonder, guys? Like,
because people love you.
He's so good.
They love Disco Nunu a little bit more, but they love you. I mean, Wonder. I agree. Wonder has been playing insane. So before we talk about our next matchup, tell me how you feel about him as a top laner, because I feel like he just does not die, and he is always going off in every team fight.
Well, I knew Wonder was a good player since since his season 6 summer split. Like he had his off games last year on Splice, but Splice as a whole was like just like on and off. And honestly, like I'm a bit surprised with how consistent he's performing. Like I think he's the best performer on our team right now in these 8 games or something we played. Actually, we already played 8 games. Yeah, it's going fast. And yeah, I don't know. Wonder is just insanely good. Like he wins every lane, both sides, doesn't die. He has a lot to improve on because every good player has still a lot to improve on. And he's, just willing to improve. So, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's been doing fantastic thus far. Let's look ahead to our next match of course, Fnatic and Giants going toe-to-toe. So many fights back and forth. Going to be the 2-0 in the first 2-0 week of the split coming in for them. So, what were your thoughts on this game?
Who would have thought that Giants is just going to destroy, you know, like in the early game? That was just amazing for me to see. But then again, you know, Soaz didn't tilt after he got... slightly camped, and then...
Slightly camped? The guy didn't run flash. They literally just sat top lane.
He ran Ignite TP for like 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
He was asking for it.
He did get solo kills.
Enemy top lane did not realize that he had Ignite.
Yeah. The first time for sure he didn't realize.
Second time too, like he was just pressing.
He was sitting there being like, surely after getting ganked twice, he would not keep the TP and Ignite. But he did, and he finds the solo kills. So, and he was a big reason as to why they were able to come back. Like his performance throughout the rest of the game was really solid. The amount of knockups he got on the Ornn, it's not conventionally what you see with the Ornn. He's really utilized for his ultimate, but Soat's having a fantastic game, and overall, Fnatic looking good.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Perks, what do you do against this Kassadin, Taric, Jarvan kind of engage combo? It just seems like once Kassadin gets rolling, it's impossible to stop him from just picking people off.
I mean, it's pretty annoying, I agree, like mid-game, like when Kassadin gets some items, but Kassadin was equal CS to Azir on lane, So I don't know what happened there. Like Azir might have disconnected on lane. Yeah, if Kassadin is equal CS on lane and can pressure, then maybe the matchup is just good for him. I don't know. Or maybe the enemy they're misplayed or the team misplayed. There can be a lot of factors like going into the game. So yeah, it was for sure. They executed it well. I like the flashy. I mean, the old thingy with Tariq stun. Like it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty. It's pretty. It looks impossible to get away from. I do not ever want to play against that. But I think we talked about Soaz as being a really strong point for the team after, admittedly, a few missteps in the early game. He did receive a lot of attention. But Reckless and Caps also felt like they were pretty on point this game. The Cassid and the Tristana working together. Does it feel like the Fnatic carries are finally starting to get on the same page?
Feels like there's less pressure on Caps to be the big playmaker, and it also feels like Reckless is more willing to work with his team. So I feel like the unit as a whole seems to be coming together. The early game still needs a bit of work. Some of Brox's ganking and vision seems to be a little bit off, but I do like what he's providing in team fights, and I think that is really where this Fnatic roster is shining right now.
Yeah, and Reckless likes Tristana, you know.
Yeah,
he loves the
first
champion.
pick insta-lock likes Tristana.
Because like, give me Tristana, I will carry you guys. That's how he feels.
Every time, man. Gets the farm in the side lane, comes back, tries to ping around the team fights. Frieza, I'm curious for you, if we look at the opposite side, if we look for Giants, how do they actually respond to this loss? What do they do coming into the following weeks? Because they've been so good. They've clearly proven that they can fight at the top of the table, but now it does feel like they are faltering a little bit.
Well, they have to keep improving at a steady pace because every other team that is at the top of the standings they're improving much more than Giants are. So they have to find the space, they have to find their issues they have to fix, and they have to work on them pretty closely.
And just as a last point, Perks, I'm curious as to what your impression of Giants has been so far this split. Did they surprise you as much as I think they've surprised the rest of us?
I mean, they for sure surprised me. Teams like Giants and Rocket, even Vitality, I think those three teams are like top of the table. Maybe not anymore, but like they were top of the table and they were performing very well. So they for sure did surprise me, but I think all those teams are gonna fall off a bit. And
yeah, Rocket already did. I
mean, Rocket actually.
They perfect game.
Yeah,
Misfits today.
It's the perfect time. Let's talk about that. Did they fall off a little bit?
Rocket did have a perfect game.
They did, but they're in the standings.
So I think Rocket is actually. I don't know. I think Rocket's top and mid are pretty good. Like
for sure.
Koreans
The
Koreans are really good.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. They had a perfect game, guys. Rocket came in, struggles previously irrelevant. Mento stood to Barons yesterday, and now the whole team comes together in the face of Misfits. They play so well. Probably didn't get the Gnar, but he got the Camille, and he just popped off this entire game.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there, actually. That was some...
Yeah, that was some miscommunication, yeah.
So, to me, what this was a good indication of, right? So, in the meta, for the first 3 weeks of the LCS, it was like, everyone needs to pick scaling comps. Everyone needs to learn to team fight. You all have to go to late game. That's the rules. And every team that tried to run early game comp, sometimes they would get early leads and couldn't properly close out, or they would never find any early leads at all, and then the comp would just kind of fall apart. This week, we've been seeing way more focus on 1-3-1 comps, turning early leads into pressure on side lanes, and then being able to effectively utilize or out-team fight without actually having to team fight at all. And I think Rocket is a good demonstration of what you can do with an early to mid-game focused comp, and then transition that into a good 1-3-1 style of play.
And of course, Camille just such a powerful champion to do that. Perks, is this something that we've been seeing more in scrims from your experience, that as teams are getting more comfortable, they're willing to try 1-3-1? Because I know the sentiment last week or for the first few weeks was like, in theory, you can play 1-3-1, but everyone just wants to sail because it's the safe bet.
I mean, like in scrims, 1-3-1 was played since the beginning. Like since the beginning of scrims, there is a lot of like variety of champs, but on stage, people just seem to play verse, or maybe the champions that you're picking, like the split push champions, are not getting advantages, so you're falling off. So it's hard to say what it exactly is, but like Rise was for sure still like a highly contested pick. So Rise is good, and they played good with Rise. Like Rocket played really good with Rise. So they just managed to snowball the game with 1-3-1.
And that's interesting because next week we're on the new patch. And I wonder how effective Rise is going to be.
Blanc was, in fact, the #1. I don't have an actual stat to prove this, but Blanc felt like the #1 Rise TP alt abuser. Or
no, Exile was definitely worse.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's tough.
And he was 1-2. This guy in the first week of LCS.
I was just saying this week, Blanc was #1.
Yeah, Blanc was using it the most. Yeah.
But outside of that change, Freeze, just to round out discussion on this matchup, what's your impression of the meta right now? Do you prefer seeing the 1-3-1 compositions, or do you like it more when teams are playing for these late game scaling win conditions?
Well, I actually love the top laners. They are taking the initiative to play the champions that can push and roam a lot. Because I mean, if you play something like Gnar, Camille, or even Ornn on top lane, and you just push your lane and you constantly roam mid lane, you put so much pressure onto the mid laner, then your mid laner has a lot of pressure and he can just roam bot lane or top lane as well, and they help each other this way, and you just have the control of their map because of that pressure.
All right, well, now I want to take a look at the standings. We are coming into the end of the week. Let's see exactly how these teams have shaped up, how these teams are going to look coming in. One team I want to look as we wait to get those up on your screen is Vitality. They are still at the top. They still played a fantastic game today with a very, I think you could say, Ziggs. Is Ziggs back, or was this a very niche situation?
Hey, GT is ranked 2 actually. We were ranked 8 last week.
This is the hype of best of one.
Congrats, Perks.
And
Feels good.
Freeze was having, I was having a really interesting discussion with Freeze earlier where I think we have a super competitive league right now, and what you're seeing is the teams that are currently sitting at 4 and 4 are still trying to find their identity, and maybe it's the same for G2 right now, as we've heard all of the members be pretty critical of their performance, but it feels like that the teams that are now solidifying those wins, being a little bit more consistent week to week, are actually starting to see a style, something that actually works for the team, an identity for the squad that's allowing them to get to the top. And Vitality, they identified themselves very cleanly from the very start of the split, and Fnatic are now starting to find their form. And I am curious as to where Perks thinks G2 and their form and identity is right now in the current split.
For my identity?
So, you
Play
know,
around mid.
like, yeah, so, like, if we think of Vitality, for example, they're a hyper-proactive early game team, right? They love to, Gilius in particular, loves to spend a lot of time in the enemy jungle early on. And I'm wondering, do you, G2, have a style of play that you think works really well for you right now, or are you still trying to figure the best way to play with your current lineup?
I mean, maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'm not sure.
That's fair, okay, that's fair.
Playing that
I'm
card,
not
huh?
gonna say what works the best for us. the best for us. But like for sure, we are so far away, and every other team is so far away of what last year G2 was. And I don't know if we are ever gonna reach the point. I mean, not ever. I don't know if we're gonna reach the point in this split, because there is just so much work that people don't realize that.
You guys
like,
played together for so long, so it's gonna take definitely so much time to even get close to where you were before.
we are trying to move rapidly, but maybe it's the problem that we are taking it too fast and we are not improving at small things. We are gonna see, like, we are talking and we are trying to improve together all the time. Everyone is super willing, so that's nice to see. But it's just like, I know how much work it has to be laid down for us to actually become a very good team, and it's gonna be a challenge and it's a journey, but it's a fun journey that like I'm on now. You know, I cannot just escape the journey, so I'm just enjoying it and enjoying the progress. And we are seeing progress, especially in our practice, but I think that we have problems translating some of our like scrims performance on stage, which is like something that I've never had before. And yeah.
I mean, I think you're still playing very consistently, very well in LCS, and you're one of the shining lights of G2.
Perks versus
I mean,
Nuke Tech
I'm
yesterday
not
was
sure.
super hype, dude.
I mean, for
Like,
now,
I think I'm making a lot of mistakes. Like I'm just
Maybe I'm just so gumpy, you know, I don't see them
I
anymore.
could play so much better. Like,
No, of course, of course.
but I mean, for now, you guys are in second place. You're tied. You're at the top of the standings. Wadid and Hjarn both talking about being super motivated. You're super motivated. So it seems like things are going pretty well for G2 at the moment. Now, the 80 carries in Europe have left their mark on the split so far. So for a closer look at some of these damage dealers, Hjarn among them, we are joined by Aaron Medic Chamberlain.
Thank you very much, Dracos. I am here for a brand new segment called Dissecting the Numbers, where I break down some statistical anomalies we may be seeing in the EU LCS. As Dracos said, today's focus is on the AD carries or the marksman, a vital part for any team. AD carries are exactly what your team needs if you want to shred through some frontline tanks, or if you want to get on towards those backline squishies. And just why are they so important? Well, if we look at the damage percentage that AD carries were doing in summer of last year, they were down at about 27%, whereas now they've gone up 5 percentage points to just about a third of their team's damage when it gets towards the late game. If you want to win a game, your AD carry needs to be outputting some high numbers for you to carry yourself to that victory. Who's a good example of this, I hear you ask? Well, there's one prime example in the EU LCS. It's Kobe, the man from Splice, alongside Kasing. Kobe is an incredible influence on whether Splyce will win or lose a game. If you look at the damage percentage he's doing in wins, it's over 40% of his team's total damage. In losses, it's a measly 28%. This equates to about a 400 damage per minute difference, which is more than some players do just by themselves anyway. Kobe is one of the key reasons that Splyce are able to win, especially if they can get him to the late game. What we've decided to do, myself and the EU LCS stats team, is try and work out a way to rank our AD carries as objectively as possible. Now, it's very difficult to do, and there's always some personal bias when it comes to a tier list. So this is what I decided we needed to have a look at. Firstly, damage per minute, incredibly important for AD carries. Alongside that, the damage per minute difference. How much more damage is an AD carry doing than their opposite man? Next up, probably the most complicated of our stats, is damage share over gold share. This means for every percentage of the team's gold, how much damage percent is that player doing? I'm going to talk about it as gold conversion. How much of your gold are you converting into damage? Creeps at 15 minutes is incredibly important, and the difference between you and your enemy AD carry can win you the game. And then deaths per minute. AD carries just can't die, especially in the late game. If you die, you cost your team so much damage. So let's have a look at my diagnosis, our tier list for the EU LCS. This is the average rank of each player across those categories that we looked at. And if you look on the right of the screen, that is the rank that the players have. Hans Sommer out in front, as expected. Up until this week, he was actually 3 whole ranks ahead of anyone else in the league. This week, not so good for him. Getting perfect games doesn't help your stats, but he's still sitting pretty at the top. Then you have Reckless, and surprisingly, Hiku bringing up the numbers there. Low deaths, high damage a minute. Hiku is actually an incredibly underrated AD carry in the meta. As we go down the list, some names to be expected near the bottom. Steelback not having the best of performances, Sheriff and Samex near the bottom, but Hyanan really needs to up those numbers if he wants to be seen as one of the best AD carries here in Europe. That's it. Hans Sommer's at the top. He's the guy everyone's gunning for. Let's hand it back across towards you, Dracos, on post-game lobby.
Thank you for the diagnosis, Medic. Interesting to hear. Turns out getting perfect game takes Hans Sommer down a notch. Bumps Hiku just a little bit up.
Yeah, just a little bit.
All right, well, week 4 gave us a lot of highlight moments, and you guys went on Twitter and gave us your favorites. Here are your LCS big plays brought to you by Acer. And everything looked pretty lost for Vitality. They fell short in a team fight versus Roccat, and with his team defending the base, Mini Trupac saw an opportunity to save the game. So with the power of Spellbook, he teleported to the top lane for a thrilling finish.
They're going to try to keep taking out the base. They're forcing a fight. Put the camera back into the Roccat base right now. We've got the longest game of the split, and Mini Trupac is looking to do it all alone. Oh, I can't believe it. One more hit is going to do it, and they're just going to lock the game. Nice, nice, nice.
Cancel. Don't let them in.
I'm not.
Fucking easy, actually.
Did we win?
GG. Easy.
Did we win? Nice!
At him. He's screaming because he knows he's won the game. The team's like, wait, have we won yet? Are we actually winning the game? He's like, yes, let's go!
It's like, did you win, guys?
Hands off the keyboard already. I almost wanted to get out of his chair. I feel like, so I've heard from you guys already what you think. You guys were here to experience, but Perks, I haven't heard your opinion. When you're watching that game, how did it feel to watch an end like this in Vitality's favor?
It's just like, wait, who was it? Was it Rocket, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Vitality was Rocket.
Oh, just a huge blows for Rocket.
Like blows. It feels so.
That's all I was thinking. Like.
And it's almost to add insult to injury, of course, because before we got there, Roccat actually earned themselves a big lead after some incredibly clutch Baron steals. Memento came up huge in the Smite battles, and that was against God Gilius himself, stealing from a god.
Blanc, he can come in for a collapse around the side, but that Baron is going low real fast. This is a 40-minute Vitality squad. Memento looking to come in, can he get the smite? He can do it! Oh, Memento! You beautiful man! He stole it away! Baron Garen is already regenning here, and the rest of Vitality trying to back away. Meanwhile, Prophet is still engaging Cabo, trying to push. The difference is that teleport would have to come in for Prophet to have that impact. Already down to half the health. Narscarin going around the side. Memento looking to see if he can make it 2 for 2. He goes over the wall. The shuffle's not going to happen again. He does it twice. Are you kidding me? Memento!
I ultimate.
Wait, they're starting
again. We can poke.
I can go flank. 6k.
Let's fight after.
5k. Yeah, I think can.
Okay, fight.
Okay, careful, Ara. Good answer. Nice, we got it. Back. I'm behind.
Back.
Hey,
Surprisingly calm calls.
Yeah, very casual. Like, comparing it to the first game, is literally not relaying any information other than screaming his head off. All right, now, our final replay, one that I'm sure you're going to be excited about. Perks, there's been a lot of people contesting you in the lane kingdom. Nuke Duck yesterday was going toe-to-toe. He was taking it to you in the mid-game. But in one daring moment, in one final ambitious play, the heroic needle thread coming in from you yourself. Let's watch it one more time.
Bot lane, we still have to look at Nuke Duck versus Wonder, because it's Nuke Duck who's been winning the 1v1 every time. He can jump in, he picks the trade, and then he jumps back. Wonder can't really return enough fire. He can shoot him once in the face with the gun. That seems to be about it.
Oh my goodness! Nuke Duck gets nuked by Perks!
That was absolutely insane!
What's gonna blank? I think we have to give it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can fight here both, okay?
Yeah, the free mid.
Can you chase them? Nice.
Actually,
they didn't start. They didn't start.
Look for TP.
I respect that your comms were also disciplined. I just wish more people in Europe would scream stuff. I mean, I know it's technically my job. I just wish other people would share, you know, the burden when it comes to screaming at high plays.
Jankos is known for screaming. Just wait a bit.
Our comms like when Jankos got Tristana on top, like Tristana! Screaming Tristana, like, I don't know, Jankos is so hyped, like, sometimes, like.
I love it, dude.
But that was a sick play from Perks.
Yeah,
threading the needle right through the minion wave. He did make a tweet when Zoe was released. I'm going to be the best Zoe in, I want to say Europe, but he might have said the world. I'll give him Europe for now.
The world for sure.
Okay, he said the world for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, he's definitely up there with his base performances so far.
I mean, threaded the needle. What did you expect to hit that Q through the creep wave? Was that like perfectly timed on your part to anticipate, or were you just eyes on Nuke Duck and it happened to go through?
I just said eyes on Nuke Duck. There is no way I would lie to people and say, yeah, I knew the Q was gonna go on Nuke, but it was the only play I could do. And sometimes, like, you just have to do the plays that. Like, if I didn't kill LeBlanc there, they would get Nash, and LeBlanc, or if he went to Nash, LeBlanc would end the game. So basically, the game was really lost. And sometimes when the game is lost, you have to go for those like crazy plays, kind of outplays, and just hope for the best. And I mean, I played it fine, but it was like
fine.
I had to do it, so it's easier to do it.
Had to do it. I like that you said played it fine for landing the perfect clutch long-range Q onto a champion with multiple dashes, but fine. Played it fine. All right. I wish I could play fine sometimes. Well, as the dust settles in week 4, let's look ahead at our matchups coming up next week, starting at 6 p.m. this coming Friday. Big one I want to talk about, G2 playing Vitality and Misfits next week. Perks, how are you feeling about your schedule?
Well, it's a tough schedule, and if we play like as we played this week, we are gonna go 0-2. And if we improve throughout this week of scrims, which we have 5 days or like 4 days of scrims, we can definitely beat both teams. I don't think those teams are like, I don't think that any team in Europe right now is very good. Like, I think all of us are rather just like meh instead of like good teams, because there is just so many mistakes that like the public doesn't even realize. Like, it's quite sad to watch and play, if I'm being really honest right now. And I just hope that we can improve fast. And if we can, it's a 2-0, yeah.
Yeah, still holding yourself to that old G2 standard.
Yeah, because the thing is, I feel like that so many European players hold themselves to a much higher standard. Like, obviously, one of the things that pros always do is compare themselves to the Koreans, but like, what is the gap? What really separates like the current play from what you consider to be top, really good quality League of Legends?
Well, it comes to playing to your game plan, so not making stupid mistakes that are not in your game plan, and just having better understanding of the game, which these like players right now don't have. Teams don't have. Teams are just not aware like how the proper League of Legends is played. So yeah, I can't go too much in details because it's very hard to explain as well.
Yeah,
but it's basically just game plan, and that doesn't seem to be anything as a game plan right now, as compared to Worlds, where I knew what was going to happen in a game the whole time, and if you made a mistake, you would, like, we still know how to play with mistake, and it's just a lot different, and it's very strange, and it takes me some time to adapt because I'm not used to playing like this. So changes in communication and just how we play as a team is like hitting me in the early mid game. But I'm trying to adapt, and I'm trying to be more like being able to adapt, but it's hard for me. So
that's fair. All right, just to round this whole thing out, G2 versus Vitality, first day. Perks, you don't feel 100% confident, but I'd still love to get some predictions from the panel before we end here. So we'll start with you, Vidius. G2 or Vitality Friday next week?
Right now, I have to go with Vitality. I feel like they're way too consistent in their ability to play around the early game. They seem super clean this week and how they were able to close things out. And I think
except for the card.
Yeah, forget that one. Forget the first game. The second game.
All right.
That's the Vitality I'm expecting to show up next week.
Right. Yeah, for me as well, Vitality. As long as they don't try to play late game and they just pick something unique, aggressive, then it's going to be Vitality.
Perks.
G2 is gonna win.
That's what I mean. I know you kind of have to. That's what I was. You're good, reliable. See, one man on this desk has faith in G2. That's what matters. All right. Well, over in NALCS, their week is just about to start with TSM versus Clutch. TSM. Sven and Mithy, let's go versus Clutch Gaming. That's Featherfin. European players everywhere.
Oh, this is so hype. I need to watch this.
All right. Well, if you didn't catch all the action from the ULCS tonight, we are having a rebroadcast after the show in Los Angeles. But for now, that is all from us here in week 4 of the Spring Split. Of course, thank you so much for joining me, guys. Maybe we'll watch some NALCS next as well. And we're going to see you guys next week as the ULCS continues on Friday. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much for joining me, guys, and see you next week.
Dang, Perks is on it, dude.
Niski needs to try and get away from this. The paddle start connects. One more auto would be enough. Sassy here with the block. Chizuke jumps in. That's a great kill for Vitality. Niski's going to jump the wall.